Greetings, John Pearson here with two colleagues, John Reynolds, president of Los Angeles Pacific University, and David Schmidt, who I call a consultant's consultant. And I should know because he's bailed me out numerous times. Thanks, David.
Right. Yeah, good morning.
Today I've cajoled John and David to join me for this little conversation about the new book, Rewired. And it's from McKinsey, and it's their guide to competing in the age of digital and AI. Oh my. And how's this for a win-win? John Reynolds bought me lunch 2 weeks ago, and he also agreed to write the review of this book for my e-news, your weekly staff meeting. And so thank you, John. Great lunch and great review. So I noticed immediately, John, in your review that Rewired is the book that executives must have on their desks. So obviously you appreciated it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, John, and for having us on this call. Yeah, my background, just to give you some context, was as a chief information officer, as a CIO. So anything to do with digital obviously impressed
right.
me, and even though in my current role it's not quite as prevalent. But I think the two gems for the book are actually in the title. Firstly, it's written by McKinsey, and McKinsey writes really well. It's well researched, and so you know that every page you turn, there's going to be something that's valid. You don't have to question the validity of what has been said. And I think the second piece, just the topic of digital transformation, and especially over the last year, artificial intelligence gets everybody's attention, right, in terms of what's happening. And perhaps just to digress for a second, this whole the whole algorithmic revolution, has been around for about 70 years. AI actually was first introduced in 1950, so it's been around a long time. But why it's prevalent and why it's good to read about it right now is that obviously we have so much data, computing so quick at what they do things with. I mean, we have tools like ChatGPT, which I know we're going to talk about in a little while, that just makes it all relevant. But I mean, none of us can actually, we get recommendations from Netflix, Amazon, etc., based on the data that's available. It's been around for a while. But anyway, back to the book. I think the first piece that I think would be relevant for leaders is that it takes a really value-added approach to what happens. Often with technology, we expect technology to drive the business, and this book changes it around. It says that the business should be leveraged by the technology that you have, and so it's divided really well into 6 sections. You can almost read it in 2 parts, the first 4 being around the business roadmap, and the last 3 around the actual technology. But it emphasizes the importance of have the business plan and the roadmap in place, and then see how you leverage the digital world to actually make that happen. It's a little bit like make sure you know where you're going before you decide whether you need a car, plane, bicycle. You can walk there, right? Versus actually now we buy a nice car that does 0 to 60 seconds, 0 to 60 in 6 seconds, and then we drive the local Los Angeles freeway when you don't get over 40 miles an hour with it. So just that approach to actually thinking about the organization first. And I think even in that, the emphasis, especially in the digital world and with AI, on the talent we're going to have to make this all happen. It really has kind of turned the pyramid upside down and saying the talent for AI and digital is much younger than we would expect. And so traditional organizations where you go through the career path, from entry level to hopefully CEO, that's going to be quite different. There's one particular phrase or concept I really liked. It was called the EVP. And, for us who've been around in organizations a long time, executive vice president, they said, no, what's the employee's value proposition? And I thought that was really interesting to think about. How do we put the employee right at the center of what we're doing? I mean, I think the real value is just how pragmatic the book is. On the dust cover, it actually says that Rewired is a practitioner's guide for leaders ready to do the hard work needed to outcompete in the age of digital and AI. I think that's really what it's all about. It's about how to practically make it happen. And that was really, I think, the big value, or the greater value I saw to a leader. First is the intent, just having the word hard work. We all know as a leader, it is hard work and you have to be intentional to make it happen. The perspective that looks at the architecture and says, okay, and there is plumbing to it, but this is the architecture of how we're doing it. And so, just to respond to your first comment, John, it's not just a book you put on the shelf. It's not just one of those things that you have. I think for where we are in 2023, this is the book that really has to be on every leader's desk. So that would be my kind of quick summary of a very, very good book.
Well, thanks, John. I remember I was thinking this morning, and by the way, this is being recorded on July 26, 2023. When it airs a week later, the whole world could have changed. So if anything we say isn't relevant, you'll understand where it's a week out from when you're listening to this. But and also I should mention, I was on a podcast recently with Jack Daniels. I reviewed 3 of his books, fabulous books, and he does a little thing called leadership lessons in 10 minutes or less. And I don't know how you do a podcast in 10 minutes or less. We're going to try to do it in 15 minutes or less. We'll see. So thanks for the brief thing. And John, I just thought, okay, who would really enjoy reading this book, knowing your chief information officer background, now you're president of a university. So I'm so grateful you were willing to borrow it. And for the record, David and I both have not yet read this book, but I plan to. I'll post a review of it on Amazon like I do most books that I read. But David, you have quite a global view from your consultant perch with large organizations, some small, but mostly large. Are they freaked out like I was when I was the only nonprofit CEO in town that wasn't on a computer yet? Back in the, in the dark ages? I mean, what are you sensing out there?
Yeah, good question. Yes, I haven't gotten a copy of the book yet, but I did read in McKinsey. I'm going to just affirm what John was saying. The McKinsey company develops some tremendous white papers and does excellent research. And I picked up and read this week their piece of research and their article in McKinsey Quarterly on this very book written by the authors. So if you don't see, before you see the book, the article is definitely worth reading. And I just want to affirm what John was saying about just the excellence of McKinsey. You still have to, depending on if you're a faith-based or in your orientation or a Christian, then you're going to, which I know, John, you have many in your audience that are in that space. You weigh everything you read carefully. But two or three things I want to just hitchhike on what John said and then what I'm seeing as well. I think number one, I think, John, you said something about being on the desk. I think that's really a key. There aren't that many in the faith-based space. The sense of urgency to write a digital AI plan, I think people feel it. I think there's certainly good policies in place in many organizations I work with. They're certainly protective of data and security and donor names and that. So I see a lot of good diligence in the organizations I work with, which the larger ones certainly have that. What's caught us all off guard is AI. And John, it's interesting for you to say it started back in 1950. It's like this was not even on my radar. I knew about it. I'd read something about it, but like my birthday was in November. My goodness, since November till today, that's what, 6-7 months to change. And when I've even used it now I put a theologian's book, A.W. Tozer's book, The Knowledge of the Holy. I put that through the AI chat GPT filter and got back a summary, which was about 90% accurate. But the 10% is where I want to just say, the reason why we need, especially those who are in faith-based and organizations that really care about protecting their mission, you have to use these tools very carefully, and you don't just assume that artificial intelligence is going to get it right. That's where policy comes in, and where you have to have a sense of what's core and what's non-negotiable. And one of the points the book made, and John, you even touched on it, is leaders have a responsibility, and leader teams, to do one of the terms they use is to do the surgery and to do the homework on developing a good, solid digital AI plan. That's the one big thing I took away from. Leadership teams have to do this work. And if the book is on the shelf, it's probably not going to be an incentive to write the plan and to keep a digital AI plan up to speed. That's just because I think it provides, it's part of the rudder that guides the organization. But there's a second reason that, John, you touched on. It is about this technology is going to need and require and lean into the skills of younger people. The moment we bring in younger people, and I was one of those people, each of us on this podcast are one of those people. We were in our 20s at one point, walking into an organization. We need leaders to help us know what is the core mission, what's the vision, what are the values we will not deviate from, and helping younger people understand that guidance system as they use digital technology, as they work a plan, as they work the AI space and those tools. And we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg on some of these tools right now. And the power of having leaders lead and help younger people be discipled into an organization's value system is really, to me, that's my big takeaway from the book from the article about the book was like, that's what we got to be careful of.
Well, we got about 3.5 minutes left. Again, the book is Rewired. You can click on the link in my newsletter or go to managementbuckets.com and go over to the blogs, and you can get it there. I did want to mention, this morning, I made a list of all the times I've asked Chat GPT for information. I was thinking it was 7 or 8. I have 27 inquiries I made, and some of them I'm supposed to be retired, but clients still email me, hey, and one was create a nonprofit organization committee charter. One was write a job description for a COO of a mid-sized organization. I did this. What are the 10 most convicting statements in the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis? And, if you just need some quotes, that was pretty good. I have a friend who's doing grant writing, and I sent her this: write a cover letter for a grant request to ABC Charitable Foundation asking if they would consider giving $25,000 for scholarships for needy children to attend summer camp. It was fabulous. I mean, goodbye grant writers, find another line of work. AI will do it for you. But then I also should mention that I asked the book I reviewed last week, the one-year book of hymns. Friends told me that he read the review and clicked on my YouTube links to hymns while watching the Los Angeles Angels baseball game. And I just had this weird thought. So I asked AI, give me 10 Christian hymn titles that might have some relevance to baseball. And the 10 were quite interesting. But David, give me your response when I sent it to you.
Oh, John sent me this. So the AI gave the 10 hymns. One of them being Blessed Assurance, Guide Me, Oh, Thou Great Jehovah was the second, and there were more. But what was fascinating was
safe in the arms of Jesus.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, and how it related. What does it mean to be assured of a good game if one's practiced? And then they just tie all these. It's fascinating. There's like no theological relevance to it, but it's fascinating to see how AI just absolutely was able to weave the essence of the hymn into a baseball idea.
And not to disparage high school kids, because John, you love high school kids because you want them to be at your university. But David, I remember you said it reminded me of what a Baptist high school kid would put together for a little essay or something.
Right.
Well, the other one that I thought everybody should do is I asked AI, create an annual performance review for a husband. And it was hilarious. If anybody listening to this would like me to send you the performance review, it was pretty good. John, just to wrap up, McKinsey. It's obviously in the book. It says, as a rule, for every $1 spent on developing digital and AI solutions, plan to spend at least another $1 to ensure full user adoption and scaling across the enterprise. And you mentioned in your review, it's very practical. And I mean, it's 35 short chapters. I love that format. But would, in your experience, is that, hey, that's our sound, but we'll stop. Sorry. John, just answer that question, then we'll exit here. But is that dollar for dollar?
Yeah, that's probably on the light side. You know, technology is the cheap part. It's like buying a car. The costs don't stop there, right? What's your total cost of ownership? And so, and when it comes to people, you know, now with technology, how do you? They want meaning and purpose. How do you make that happen? Yeah, there's a lot going to it. So I would say that's on the light side. This is an investment for the future of the organization. It's not an expense.
Yeah. Well, everybody, John and David, I owe you big time now. Certainly lunch, maybe dinner. Get the book Rewired, read the review, read John's excellent review, and it ought to be on somebody's desk. And as I say, delegate your reading, and I've learned a new term, delegate your reviewing also. Thank you, John.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, have a great day. Thanks for
You bet.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
I'm just going to exit here because I know we got busy schedules. Have a great day.
You too. God bless.